I am not keen on Eurorack.
We'll talk about that.
It's dark down here. It's quite poor. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Ian J. Cole, and in this video we're going to look at free programs to do music technology, and I've compiled a list, and in fact I think we've got something like, I don't know, 20 or 30 actual pieces of software that you can use. Anyway, all of this stuff is free and all of it's legal as well. So if we start first of all with digital audio workstations. I've picked two here. There's loads of digital audio workstations on the market that are free to use, but there are two exceptional ones. One is if you're on a Mac, you automatically get GarageBand. Just turn my little GoPro on. So here is GarageBand. Now the good thing about GarageBand is that it's completely free and all of the updates are free. It's a fantastic program, and no matter what Apple piece of hardware you've got, so if you've got a laptop, a desktop computer, iPad, iPhone, they all have GarageBand on them. And what I tend to do with GarageBand is that I may start it on my iPad and then I will be able to finish the project off on the computer. The other thing that you can do is, if you think of GarageBand as a cut down version of Apple's Logic X program. Now Logic X costs £150 and GarageBand is really pretty much a cut down version of that. The drum program, the drummer, is almost identical, and you can start doing something in GarageBand, port it over to Logic and just carry on with the project. It's really good. Now if we're looking at Windows, because obviously GarageBand is Mac only. When we're looking for Windows, we've got Cakewalk. And Cakewalk is a program that used to be Sonar. And what happened here is that it was owned by Gibson Guitars, who over the years bought quite a lot of companies as part of their portfolio and really did nothing with them. They really messed it up big time. So what they did was they basically, in 2018, they stopped doing anything with Sonar. Anyway, they've sold the rights to a company called BandLab. And BandLab, bless them, who are an online sort of company, have made Sonar. They've turned it back into Cakewalk. And Cakewalk is a free, fully fledged digital audio workstation for the Windows only. Doesn't work on Mac. I've not used it, but I have a friend who used to be a very avid Sonar user and swore by it. So I know it's a fully fledged program. Definitely worth looking into if you're short of a digital audio workstation. So that's two digital audio workstations. And so next we're going to look at Spitfire Labs. Now Spitfire Labs is a free range of sample packs really that are provided by Spitfire Audio Company. Now if you don't know Spitfire Audio, they're a fantastic sample company who go off and sample. They mainly work with media composers, and their regular stuff is generally quite expensive. If you are a regular media composer, Spitfire Audio sample packs are just amazing. They've just launched a brand new series, which collaboration with the BBC Symphony Orchestra, where they've gone and sampled the BBC Symphony Orchestra in the Maida Vale studios, which is being decommissioned. So that's the sort of level of product that they produce. Now what they do with their Spitfire Labs is completely free. You need to register with them. You need to download their installer and then their interface. But that interface will then work with any digital audio workstation. And there's a whole range of instruments. We've got, in fact, I've just totaled them up. There's 17 in total. We've got London Atmos, which is taking inspiration from Music Concrete, so field recordings in effect. We've got a soft piano, so we've got strings, which is 14 of London's best string players, and we've got handbells, pedal pads, which is Christian Hansen, who is one of the founders of Spitfire Audio, has put a Wurlitzer, a felt piano and a guitar through a series of effects pedals to get pedal pads. There's a music box, a dulcimer, something called scary springs, so a sort of haunting sort of string, a module piano. So again, Christian Henderson has sampled his upright piano and linked it to his modular rig. There's a peel guitar, there's one called Frozen Strings, some synth pads, choir, charango, electric piano, amplified cello, quartet, set of drums, and it really is, the quality of these samples, which are free, are amazing, really. And all it costs you, in a sense, is registering with Spitfire Audio. So can't recommend it highly enough. I've already used it in sort of 2 or 3 compositions. Our next one is gonna be a company called Tone Booster Audio. Now I think, although I can't be sure about this, but there's a company called TAL Software, and I think there was a connection between Tone Boosters and TAL Software. I might be wrong about that. Anyway, we'll get on to TAL, but Tone Boosters software, what they do is they have a series of 6 plugins, and you can download them and use them free of charge. The only caveat to that is that you can't save any of the presets. So their Morphix plugin is a headphone plugin. So if you're mixing on headphones, which I sometimes do, and I have a pair of Sennheiser headphones, 650 headphones, there'll be a certain range of headphones that the Morphix plugin will work with, and is set up ready to use. And certainly the Sennheiser 650s are one of those headphones. So the only thing I can't do is I have to find it every time, and it won't remember any of the settings that I've used. So it just means that I use them all the time. It just means you have to write them down. And certainly when I was doing my master's degree, I used them right the way through those 2 years and just wrote down the plugins. I can't remember how much they are if you want to buy them. I think they're probably $30 per plugin. Let's just have a quick look at. So Morphix is $39. So I think they're between $29 and $39 for each plugin. So a couple of £100 if you want to buy them all. They have Real Bus, which is a tape recording, tape flange and tape an echo simulator. They have an equalizer, something called Equalizer 4. They've got a reverb. They've got Barricade, which is a mastering grade true peak compressor and limiter. And then there's an enhancer. So an enhancer you would tend to use on mastering. Now I've only really used the Morphix, because the rest of the plugins I have other mastering bits of software and other mixing bits of software and other EQs, but I have them in my arsenal if I wanted to. Next set of plugins are from TAL. Now the TAL plugins, they have a range of paid plugins, and they also have a range of free plugins. Now these plugins, they've split them. They've got 6 plugins which are 64-bit, so compatible with the latest Mac operating system or the 64-bit Windows operating system, no problem there. They also do have 5 32-bit plugins. They're not going to be upgraded anymore, so you need to take that into account if you're running a full 64-bit system does, 32-bit plugins won't necessarily work. They're not the same plugins either. So the 64-bit plugins and are compatible with Windows and Mac. We've got a TAL Reverb 4. We've got a Chorus LX. We've got a Noisemaker, which is a synthesizer. And we've got a TAL vocoder. And we've got another vintage reverb and a filter. When we look at the 32-bit ones, or the non-64-bit supported ones, we've got a classic VA synthesizer, the TAL Electro. We've got a TAL bassline synthesizer. We've got TAL Dub, which is a series of 3 effects. So we have TAL Dub 3, TAL Dub 2 and TAL Dub. So they're all dub reverbs. Now I love the TAL Dub reverb. In fact, I think the latest version of their paid plugin incorporates the elements of the TAL Dub. So great on reggae and stuff like that. Absolutely brilliant plugins. Use them a lot. Yeah, their current one, which is a paid plugin, they have TAL Dub X, £20, worth every penny. I haven't actually. I need to buy it again. I think I've still got the TAL Dub on here, but it is still working, the 32-bit one. But I need to upgrade it, and I will buy the latest version because it's a fantastic plugin. The other things we've got a series of effects. They have a tube dubbing. So these are all still the 32-bit plugins. We've got something called TAL Use, which is a ultra simple EQ. It's almost like a Waves do a plugin, which is just a one knob, and the TAL Use is very similar to that. It's one big knob and a couple of smaller knobs. We've got a flanger, and we've got a bit crusher. Now I have used a bit crusher in the past, and that, if you want that sort of really gnarly, dirty sort of sound, the TAL bit crusher is absolutely fantastic. That concludes the TAL. Next, so we've done labs, we've done TAL, we've done labs, we've done TAL, we've done tone boosters. Now let's have a look at Icom Multimedia. Again, Icom Multimedia are a company that sell hardware and software. But they also give a range of free plugins, and there's a series of 3. The first one is Amplitude Custom Shop. Now, Amplitude Custom Shop has got in it, it's basically a guitar amp simulator, and the way that it works is you install it and it's free. You give them all you just register with them, download their installer, a bit like the Spitfire thing really. We have 4 amplifiers, 5 cabinets, so you can mix and match amplifiers and cabinets, and then there are 3 microphone models as well. Now the quality of their sample instruments are absolutely superb. I have got access to it because I've got an account and it's on my it's stored in my profile, but I've not actually used it because I haven't needed to use it. I don't use a lot of amp simulation plugins for guitar. I'm more likely to use my Vox Valtronic amplifier and mic it up with an SM57. The next one is the T-Rack's Custom Shop. Same principle again. Just to backtrack, with the Amplitude Custom Shop and the T-Rack Custom Shop, there are other models of amplifier and program available, and you can test them, but actually you have to buy them if you want to use them. But certainly, fundamentally, there is a range of free products there. So when we get to T-Rack's Custom Shop, there's 2 plugins. We've got one which is a classic EQ, which is exceptional, and then we have a metering suite, which is for mastering. Now I again haven't downloaded the T-Rack's Custom Shop because I have Isotope's mastering suite of programs, so I actually don't need it, that's all. But it is on my profile on my Icom Multimedia account, and if I ever needed it, I could quite easily just download it. And the third one is a range, and it is a range. I think it's 27, if I'm not mistaken. And well, I'll just have a quick look. I think it's 27 free synthesizers, and they've modelled a load of classic synthesizers. Let's just have a quick look at that. So, correction, it wasn't 27. It's 17 amazing instruments with over 2,000 presets. Now, I have got Syntronic installed on my computers. The one thing I would say about it is you've got basically it's presets only. There's not a lot you can actually change. So it doesn't work like a conventional synthesizer where you've got access to all of the parameters. If you buy the full-blown version, then you get access to everything. But there's certainly classic Moog synthesizers in there, mini Moogs, things like that, Korg. All sorts of, what you would consider to be classic synthesizers. Just look at the image here. We've got the one at the left here looks like a Korg, and the one in the middle is definitely based. It's called Mini Mod, which is based on a Mini Moog, and then we've got a J8, which is based obviously on the Jupiter 8 from Roland. So you can see the sort of thing that we're dealing with. In fact, they say here, Mini Mod based on the modular Moog, Mini Moog, Model D and the Moog Voyager. So what they've done is they've taken 4 Moog synthesizers and put them into one piece of software. The OXA is based on the Oberham OBX and the OBXA. We've got the J8 based on the Jupiter 8, Jupiter 6 and Jupiter 4. And the Pro V is based on the sequential circuits Prophet 5 and Prophet 10. V8T is based on the Yamaha CS8T, GX1 and CS01. The Harpy 260 is based on the ARP 260. We've got the TO8, which is based on the Roland TB303 bassline synthesizer. The Blau is based on the PPG Wave 2.3. The Bully is based on the Moog Taurus, so it's the bass pedal synth. The Galaxy is based on the Alesis Andromeda. Sam is based on the Oberheim SEM synthesizer expander module. And the String Box is based on the ARP String Ensemble, the Elka Rhapsody, the Horner String Performer, Roland RS 505, Paraphonic and the Roland RS09 string organ synth. They go on. We've got the Polymoog, based on the Polymoog obviously, the Opus 3, the Rogue and the Realistic Concert Make MG1. We've got 99, which is based on the SY99. Now that's the SY99 is an exceptional synthesizer. I have an SY55, which I think is pretty good, and the 99 was a much bigger version of that synthesizer. We've got the DOCX, which is based on Roland JX10, JX8P, JX3P, and we've got the Noir, which is based on the Multimoog, the Micromoog and the Moog Prodigy. I have to say, back in the day, I owned a Moog Prodigy, and I hated it. I thought it was, the reason I hated it, and I was using it for live work, was that the damn thing would never stay in tune. And it's a well-known fact that throughout the early Moog synthesizers, tuning of the oscillators was a problem. And I used to have to set it up at soundcheck, tune it, and then go back and tune it a couple of times before the start of the gig. So I'd tune it a couple of minutes before going on stage. It's usually stayed in tune long enough for the 40 minutes of the first set, and then I tune it again before the second set. It was a bit of a pain, really, and I never really loved. I never really loved it. It was, it was functional and it made some interesting sounds, but it was never really my favourite synthesizer. Consequently, and it is the only Moog synthesizer I've ever owned, I'm not that bothered about Moog synthesizers. I was always much more interested and in love with Korg synthesizers. They always stayed in tune. The way what happened with the Moog Prodigy was I was playing a gig in a pub one night, and the damn thing burst into flames, and it was proper flames, not just smoke. So it got a pint of beer poured down it to put the fire out. I then part exchanged it in that sorry state for a Korg Poly 6. Second hand, of course. Now what I don't know is whether, I don't think all of those are available in the free version. If you buy the full version of the Syntronic, it's £300, £299.99. But you're gonna get certainly 17 synthesizers in the free version, which is brilliant, really. We're now going to move on to something called ADHD, and it's a free leveling tool, but actually what it is, it's a tube simulation of a compressor, and it's a really good compressor. So the ADHD leveling tool is a tube leveling amplifier inspired by the legends and carefully crafted to meet your compression needs. Definitely worth having and definitely worth downloading for mixing and for mastering. Highly recommended. So we're going to move on to, there's one more sample based, and then we're going to get onto some sort of more esoteric things like modular. One of them is Piano Book, and this is linked to Christian Henson, the chap behind Spitfire Audio, and he has set up a community really of composers, people that are sampling, and they've been sampling pianos, predominantly pianos, but actually they're moving away from that now. What Christian's done is that he has set up a website with help of community members. They have sampled a lot of pianos and some other instruments, some guitars and harps and all sorts of things. It's not just about pianos. And what you can do there is you can literally just go onto the website, and I'll put all the links for all of these sites in the comments down below. You can go on Piano Book and you can contribute. If you want to start sampling your own instruments, Christian's put his instructions up there via his YouTube channel, and I would advise people to subscribe to his YouTube channel, because there's an awful lot of really good music technology content on there. And this site has got a whole range of instruments. The downside is most of them need contact. Now I don't use contact. I know that some of them you can probably use in the Logic sampler, and you may be able to use the samples in other samplers, but you'd have to create the sample instrument yourself. I've never been a fan of contact really, so and although there is a free contact player, I don't know whether these samples or these sample packs will work with the free player, or whether you need the full-blown Contact 6, I think it is the current version. I mean, actually, if any of you know, drop it in the comments down below, because it's not something that I would use. I'm very interested in using it in the samples, but I've never been keen on using Contact. A really good resource with lots and lots of pianos. There's a resonant, there's one called Resonant Pedal Pad, steel drum, 1960s chord organ. That's quite interesting, because I've recently sold a 1960s chord organ. Steinway pianos, a Kimball piano, a rainbow drum. I don't know what a rainbow drum is actually. What's a rainbow? Rainbow drum contains 3 drums, sampled at my son's school music room. The administration was kind to let me have access to the room. I quickly sampled as many instruments as I could. Most of the drums are 3 to 4 round robins and 4 velocity layers. The recording was done with a single SM57, sorry. And there's usually a little bit where you can have a listen to, because the links are put onto SoundCloud. The person that actually created the samples, there's a link to his website, and in this case you've got a bit.ly link to a Contact instrument, so you can download that. So if you're into Contact and certainly in need of pianos and some of these more obscure instruments, happy days. We've got 2 more software instruments to look at. One of them is something called VCV Rack. Now VCV Rack is a virtual Euro Rack digital audio workstation. Now I am not keen on Euro Rack. I don't own a Euro Rack. I don't want to own a Euro Rack. It's too bleepy and blobby for me. But if you're into Euro Rack and you don't, and I believe it's a rabbit hole. Most Euro Rack modules cost 300 quid plus, so it's quite an expensive hobby to get into. I have absolutely no interest in Euro Rack. I love synthesizers. I love the synthesizers that I've got. The closest I've probably got is an MS-20, which is semi-modular. And I can get good sounds out of that by patching, and that's fine. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of module. But if you are, and you don't want to spend any money, VCV Rack is definitely the way to go. So you can have as much fun as you like, and I think you have to register, and then you can download the actual Euro Rack. If that sort of floats your boat, go for it. Good luck. It's just not my sort of thing, really. Right, and our last one. This is a rabbit hole that I have been down. And our last piece of software that we're going to look at is something called Pure Data. Now, just before we get onto Pure Data, there is a program called Max MSP, which allows you to create any sort of instrument, any sort of device that you want in software. It's a fully-fledged music technology programming language, developed by a chap called Millard Puckett, I think his name was. It's $400 to buy is Max MSP, and it's a very, very powerful program. The current version is Max 8. I'm using Max 7. I don't do it often enough, so I need to keep remembering the skills. And I've been using it since version 5. And in fact, I have built fully fledged synthesizers in it. It's also directly linked, because Max MSP and Max for Live, which is part of Ableton Live's suite of programs, fundamentally the same thing. But the Max for Live version is embedded in the Live digital audio workstation. But you can make all sorts of instruments in Max for Live as you can in Max MSP. So there is a free version of that software, and that software is Pure Data, designed and originally developed by Miller Puckett. It has some of the characteristics of Max MSP. It's very much community led, so people are allowed to develop and expand it themselves. And if you want to go and try and develop, and there's lots of really good tutorials for this sort of stuff online. So if you want to get into that sort of thing, Pure Data is definitely the way to go. It's completely free. It doesn't cost anything. So this was quite a long video. It's longer than I expected it to be. So thanks very much for watching. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button. Please ask any questions or put comments down below, and I'll try and answer them if I can. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much. Bye bye. What have I bought? I'm not that bothered about Moog synthesizers. Scratch me ear.